We are going to start the presentation. We have a presentation tonight. We're going to go through the four main components, I should say, of our Spanish immersion programs, both in Costa Rica and Ecuador. We're going to go through a lot of information, and we are recording this for people that we know that can't be here tonight, or if you want to rewatch this information, because there's a lot of information. All right, so let's go ahead and find that chat box again. And if you can see the travel with the pros, the first slide, go ahead and put a 1 in there. That would be super helpful.
And if my screen share automatically took over your whole screen, poke around the edges with your cursor and you'll see how to minimize it and control your browser size or your window size so that you can do other things on your computer. I mean, not multitask because you wouldn't want to be distracted, but you could see your chat area and things like that. Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Let's get started.
Let's get going. Okay. This is one of your favorite quotes. This is on a running trail in Costa Rica.
One of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's one of your favorite quotes. Tell us all about it.
Well, okay. Famous Martin Luther quote, la pregunta más urgente en la vida es ¿qué estoy haciendo por los demás? So the most urgent question in life is what am I doing for others? And just the fact that you guys are on this meeting tonight tells me that you are taking steps to improve your Spanish to better serve and impact your communities. Yep. And so you're already doing so much because you're interested in how to have more communication, or maybe it's a personal or professional goal, but you're concerned about others in the world, okay, and wanting to connect. So that is why it is one of my most favorite quotes.
And this is our mission statement, really, impacting communities through language. That's what drives us. We are language teachers, and we just love working with folks like you who can gain Spanish language skills, and in whatever networks you're in, whatever profession you're in, use the language to give someone a helping hand who has a rough time in life. So that's our mission, impacting communities through language. So we already talked briefly about what we're going to talk about tonight: family immersion programs, general immersion for adults, medical immersion, and teachers immersion. Again, if you're interested in a high school program, reach out to Leslie separately, and she'll be glad to schedule some time with you to walk you through what that looks like. All right, so burning questions. Let's get the chat feed filled with your burning questions. Chat them in, and Vanessa will help us get all of these sort of collected together. So whenever you have a question, drop them in there, and then we will be able to make sure that we address them either in real time or toward the end when we have some FAQs. Okay. So
if you have any top of the mind questions, put them in there. We'll continue to look at them and make sure we address them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Muy bien. ¿Por qué quieren aprender español? You kind of know that language is our mission, and impacting communities through language is our mission, but we would like to know what your why is. Tell us in the chat area real quick. We'd love to know what's motivating you to work on your Spanish. And if it's not some grandiose, altruistic thing, that's totally fine. Maybe you need a vacation and you want to use, get the most out of your time and learn something and have a cultural experience.
Yep. Tell us your why. We're going to read some of those as soon as they pop up.
Yeah. Drop them in there.
Be more effective Spanish teacher.
Love it, Marilyn.
I know that about you.
Oh my gosh.
You're so great. Okay.
Better communication with patients.
Yes, Gabby.
Pacientes.
Okay.
Yeah, Sophie. The other half of the world.
Sophie says it's so powerful to be able to communicate with the other half of the world. Yes.
Students
Maria.
and families. Lots of connection here to day-to-day work. Right?
Alyssa, I'm a Spanish teacher, but my priority with this is to bring my own kids to experience language and to open their eyes to other cultures. So Alyssa, we, before we had kids, we thought, we have got to incorporate our own kids. We have 3 kids into our summer travel immersion experience for that reason, so that they could have a global perspective and see how other kids, other families their age live around the world. So we are on the same page as that.
Yeah, and you'll meet them this summer if you travel with us.
Yeah, you'll meet them all. On my way to work, yes, CEUs are available.
Yeah.
So we'll answer that question. Quiero practicar más en otro país. Okay, many of my classes are over 50%. I'm assuming Spanish speaking. Okay, awesome. Christine says, I want to truly be fluent in another language. I used to know French, but that's a tough one to practice and to be able to connect with my students and their families without an interpreter all of the time in parentheses. Okay.
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome.
Love
okay.
It. Lots of connection to real world application of the language.
If you are clear on your why with anything, okay, you are going to be able to make this program so much more, make it your own, as long as you're clear on your why. So that's fantastic. You guys are already clear.
That's right. Awesome. So some of the main factors that you want to consider as you're looking at what an immersive experience would look like for you are things like health and safety. All right. What's the scenario for health and safety where I'm going to travel to? What's the atmosphere of the towns that I would be based in? And what can I expect there? What's the quality of language instruction like? What are the host family what are those like? And what's the volunteer work like? Is it meaningful? Is it ethical, sustainable, that sort of thing? And adventures, what kind of fun can I have? These are things that we'll be talking about tonight. And so if these topics jog your memory to any particular questions, feel free to drop them in, and we'll definitely, if we don't answer them in real time, we'll get to them at the end. So speaking of the end, make sure you stay on to the end of the meeting, because we're going to be offering you some special bonuses, special inclusions for the trip this summer if you decide to register within the next few days here. So what does immersion mean to you? Let's get started with that. When we talk about an immersion program, what does that really mean? What comes to mind? Take a second and chat it in.
Then I have to talk about the one image that's in my mind
Yeah.
every time I hear immersion.
Yeah, you really should. So what does immersion mean?
It could be a word, it could be a visual image, something that pops into your mind. It could be an adjective.
Yep. A metaphor.
A metaphor. As our youngest Eliana used to say, a cinnamon.
A cinnamon.
Yeah.
All right. Language practice. All right. It means language practice.
Madeline says, I did a year-long Japanese immersion in college. I almost forgot how to speak English.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
Yeah. So focused on the language. That's awesome.
All right.
Well, what does immersion mean to you, hon?
Well, Maria says connection and full transformation into another language and culture.
Yeah.
Denia says fully surrounded by another, fully surrounded definitely comes up a lot. To be surrounded, there we go, Heather, to be surrounded by the language and culture. So the image I have of immersion is my kids when they were younger would, if we were at a pool in the summertime, would jump like full force cannonball style, when you cannonball style into a pool. And when they do that, not one part of their body stays dry. They're like committed to getting wet, dunking their head, their hair.
It's not whatever. The mom hair in the bun, it's not get the hair wet.
No, it's
kind
not.
Of cool
I just got my hair blown dry. I can't get my hair wet. It is fully, immersed, surrounded by the water. And so that is what this type of immersion program is. We want you to live, breathe, smell the cinco sentidos, the five senses in Spanish.
Yeah. Some of our clients describe it this way: 24/7 Spanish learning. Being surrounded by sounds, food, music, language, people of a foreign country, feeling out of my comfort zone at times, swimming in a new language and culture, experiencing everything in life again, but through the filter of another language and cultural perspective, having fun adventures and doing meaningful work in Spanish. So we're on the right track. That's what immersion is.
Yeah, I want to bring up this my feeling out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
As adults, I feel like kids and high school kids are often out of their comfort zones, right? In new social situations, they're on the track for learning, maybe preparing for college or their careers. But as adults, once we get into our rhythm and routine and in our careers, we're used to being
right.
Correct and having the knowledge or the specialist, depending on your career.
Being the expert.
We often don't find ourselves sometimes out of our comfort zone. So this could be really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But we truly feel like after running these programs for almost probably 20 years, thousands of immersion participants, that personal growth, not just language growth, but personal growth as adults happens when we are out of our comfort zone.
No doubt.
And it's a unique experience to have. And we're all going through it together.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about our story, but how do we get started? We started in 2001 and Common Ground, we were both teaching in school. So Common Ground was kind of like our side hustle. It was a nights and weekend project. And we first began with teaching professionals Spanish. And so then travel happened. Then travel with children happened.
As we had children.
Yeah, that's right. And then other language services that support our mission of impacting communities through language sort of blossomed out of all of that. So that's the CGI story in a nutshell. And after we, so it was probably a year or so we were teaching, and you finally said, you know what, we have to add an immersion experience. And we started thinking, well, what would a good immersion experience include? What would it be? And we came up with four primary components.
Four primary components based off of, I lived in Costa Rica on a study abroad. You lived in Mexico. This is when we were college students on a study abroad. And we thought we need to create the study abroad experience, but a little bit more intentional.
Yeah, a little more intentional, more focused. And so the four components: classes, so small group classes with people at your level, community service opportunities, so you have a chance to actually use the language in context and accomplish real objectives in another language, staying with a host family, which is probably one of the most sort of unnerving aspects of the program for most people before they get started. But by the end of the program, it's one of the aspects of the experience that people look back most fondly on and really appreciate.
We have participants that have gone and visited their host families.
Host families who've come up to the
States.
States.
Have come to the US to live with them. So a really unique bond can happen.
It's amazing. And then adventures, because, hey, you're traveling and you have to explore and have fun and really take part in some of the amazing things that another country has to offer. Is that you
jumping in the picture? You're getting some air.
That's some serious hops, right? Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
So, all right. So all of the programs include pre-departure course and guided preparation. This is how we make sure that everyone's on the same page, that we all know what paperwork needs to be done, that what is first couple days is going to look like, what our itinerary is. This is how everyone gets on the same page so that when you arrive, we all hit the ground running and we don't have lost souls on program.
And so when you arrive in country, you can focus on
your real objectives.
accomplishing your
Yeah.
goals, focusing on that Spanish. Okay, you're not wondering
That's right.
about a bunch of other stuff.
Yep, help. So on-site coordinator, trip leader, and this is one of the sort of value add type components of the program where you've always got someone, you're never alone. And that means a lot. If you don't have a buddy that's traveling with you and you're like, what am I going to do? You've always got someone ready to support you 24/7 throughout
There
the
are
program.
6 people on our immersion leadership team this summer, 6 of us. So it's going to be a great team.
It is. So airport pickup, transfer to host family upon arrival. So you don't have to worry about how you're going to get to your host family or what the first steps are when you arrive in country. We've got you from the time that you exit the airport. So medical travel insurance, which meets all COVID-19 requirements and things like that. Now, COVID-19 stuff is changing super fast and improving super fast. But the travel insurance, the medical travel insurance that we provide you covers all sorts of, should you have to quarantine or change your flight on the way home, that kind of thing. All right, free weekends to explore the beautiful country that you're traveling to, and then CMEs, CEUs, PDUs available for additional costs. So healthcare folks, you can get your professional education credits. Teachers, you can get your professional education credits. Those are the 2 primary areas that we've accredited our programs through. When are we traveling, huh?
Okay, so we're starting off this summer in Ecuador.
Whoop. Okay, there we go.
It's just a 2-week program in Ecuador, June 11th through June 25th. And then we are transitioning up to Costa Rica on June 25th to July 23rd. So 2 weeks in Ecuador and 4 weeks in Costa Rica. Ecuador, we have basically 1 start date, June 11th. In Costa Rica, we have 2 start dates. So if you need some flexibility, it's June 25th and then July 2nd. Okay, that next Saturday. So we have also a handful that are doing both countries with us. And so they're starting in Ecuador and then flying with Rory up to Costa Rica on June 25th. So that is an option as well. They're doing a combo program.
That's right. So that ends up, if you do something like that, that would be more like booking 3 one-way flights. So you fly to Quito, then you fly to Costa Rica, then you fly back home. So Ecuador, let's talk about Ecuador a little bit. First of all, it's in South America, not Central America. It's between Colombia and Peru. And it's the 2nd smallest country in South America. There are some really big places in South America compared to Central America. And it straddles the equator. And that's why it's called Ecuador, which is Ecuador, equator in Spanish. And it has a really amazing, diverse landscape. The Andes Mountains, Amazon rainforest and cloud forest, the Galapagos Islands, tons of Incan ruins. It's a really neat place, particularly if you like mountainscapes, I think.
Yeah. For sure. And the Galapagos, which our programs won't go out to the Galapagos this summer, but really
but we should all know that there are a couple of people who want to go to the Galapagos after the 25th.
Yeah.
And so I'm working on a 5-day deal in the Galapagos to help them get out there.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So what is Ecuador known for? It's known for environmental sciences, biodiversity, a rich cultural heritage. It's part of the Incan Empire. And so there's a lot of history and pre-Columbian history in Ecuador. Really diverse microsystems, landscapes from the Galapagos Islands to 20,000-foot glaciated peaks that someone in this group has summited. When did you do that? 96?
96, the top of Cotopaxi.
That's 1908 or something like that. What is it?
20,000 something.
Oh, I didn't mean to undersell you.
I know.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Exportation of oil. So there's some oil resources in Ecuador. Panama hats, which are those white hats that you see
in the picture.
Yeah, they're not from Panama. They're from Ecuador. And 1 million indigenous language speakers. So a lot of indigenous heritage and culture is still alive and well in Ecuador. And so some of the recognized languages are Spanish, Quechua, Shuar, and more than 10 other indigenous languages still exist in Ecuador. Otavalo, what's that like?
Okay, so our home base in Ecuador is about an hour and a half north of Quito. Quito is a massive, huge capital city. Otavalo is a small city. It's in the Andean highlands, so it's around 8,000 feet. The province is Imbabura, okay? Elevation, population is around 40,000 people, 8,000 feet. It is known for, it has the largest, it's called Plaza de Ponchos. It's the largest outdoor artisan market in South America. So well, you can see the textiles, the fabrics, the Incan colors, the colors are just incredible. I could stay there when we were walking through the market. I could stay there all day, just taking pictures and admiring the colors and the weavings and everything. And the scenery, it's right at the base of Imbabura volcano, right at the base of that. So you have volcanoes, you have lakes, you have waterfalls, the condors nest there in this province too, which is pretty amazing. So there's a lot of natural beauty to Otavalo. It's not a huge tourist destination like other parts of Ecuador. And so you get to really experience the typical small town lifestyle in Ecuador with a lot of Incan and pre-Columbian influence there.
Yeah, it's a really neat place, and I just love the landscapes that are like a little bit of agriculture, and then these amazing mountains and these beautiful lakes, and the air seems fresh, and it's a really cool place.
Yep.
Costa Rica. All right, Costa Rica. Why Costa Rica? Well, Costa Rica for many years has been, safe and hospitable to North American tourists. 1.5 million tourists annually in regular years travel to Costa Rica. So there's a lot of familiarity with receiving North Americans. And what's cool about Costa Rica is that it's a really small place. So it's a tiny physical area, but the ecosystems and terrain are really varied, and so you can see a lot of different things within a short period of time as you move around the country.
So to give a perspective, Colorado is where we're from. Christine, also from Colorado. 2.5 countries of Costa Rica can fit into the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
So you can get to the tallest peak is 10,000 feet, to the tallest peak to the rainforest jungle in a matter of 2 or 3 hours. So
Yeah.
it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it is. And so Costa Rica is where we initially started our programs. I think 2003 was the first time we traveled with adults to Costa Rica. And so we've very long-standing relationships there. The town that we're in, Santo Domingo, why don't you tell us about the town?
Again, it is a small, typical lifestyle town. It is outside of the capital city, so it has modern conveniences. It's about a half an hour outside of San Jose.
Mhm.
It's in the Central Mountain Range. It's around 4,000 feet. Okay, the province is Heredia. 30,000 population. A lot of people work in San Jose. It's a very kind of professional environment.
Yeah.
Or they have the local shops and stores as well. This elevation 4,000 is ideal for growing coffee, and so you will see lots of cafetales, coffee plantations, in the middle of kind of this urban living as well. It's surrounded by mountains. It's very temperate climate. This summer you can expect like daytime temperatures in the 70s, and they'll drop to the 60s at night. It's not on the beach. It's not a tourist destination, and again, that is why our home base is in Santo Domingo, because you won't see other people. If you book a trip to Costa Rica, you won't go, as a tourist. You won't necessarily go to Santo Domingo. There's not a lot to offer. There's only one hotel in town, but it's typical lifestyle. It's a beautiful cultural place to experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the goal is to be in safe places that give you exposure to the everyday culture and language, and not have a bunch of people speaking English to you, things like that. So one of the components of the program is host families that people get really anxious about and are uncertain about. So let's talk a little bit about the host families. You spend a lot of time walking. So host families live within walking distance of school and meetup points. And so you could, if you don't feel like walking, you can always grab a taxi or an Uber or something like that. But in general, we spend a lot of time on our feet. We take our tennis shoes and we walk, up to a couple miles a day usually.
Yeah. Both these towns in Ecuador, Otavalo and in Santo Domingo and Costa Rica, walking is the main form of transportation amongst the town. You'll see lots of people out walking to get to places.
Absolutely. And the ages of your host families range from young parents to grandparents. And so just depending on, there's no set sort of age range that we have more host families of or others. It really is a smattering of young families to empty nesters to older grandparents. Mostly middle-class working families. And so it's nice to see just a regular working class, middle class exposure to another country. So how do we select the families? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take this slide.
Yeah.
This bullet point, it makes me laugh inside, because of course we have to like them, but that's not our only standard. Okay, like them and be pleasant, so they have to be nice. But they have to have appropriate accommodations. Okay, and so what that looks like in Ecuador, our host families are a shared host family experience. So one, or I should say, 2 participants per host family. They have private bedrooms, but a shared bathroom experience. In Costa Rica, we have both options, where it's 1 participant per host family, or 2 if people do really want to share, or families, of course, and then a shared bathroom experience as well. But besides that, can you advance the slide?
Yeah, absolutely.
We do background checks every single year. In both of these countries, both of these towns, we have full-time host family coordinators that live and work in these towns. And so they know the families on an individual basis. They have way more contact with them than we do, just going down twice a year or whatever. And so they are there to know the ins and outs of which families, maybe someone had a grandmother that passed away, or a baby that was born, or things like that. So they keep us up to date on their host families, but it's really important. It's a huge value to have someone that lives and works in the town it keeps an eye on all the families. And then they have to be close-ish to the language school. I would say some of our closest host families are 5 minutes away, and the longest walk is 25 minutes away. So, and that's like a stroll, not like a brisk exercise walk.
Right. Yep. So when we match you, we match on family availability, obviously. So your preferences for whether you want to be with children, pets, etc. And we can't always 100%. If you want to be with kids, maybe we can't 100% do that. But if you've got an allergy to a pet, then we can 100% do that. And then any special traveler requirements, like we were talking about, diet needs, allergies, mobility, things like that. So these are all details that we get from you after you register. Then we ask you to complete a travel registration form. So after you put in your deposit, you complete a travel registration form that tells us all about you and what your needs are for host families.
Yeah, we have had, as far as diet needs, that comes up often, but we have had gluten. We have host families that do gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian,
ovo, lacto, something.
Nitrate.
I don't know. Yeah, nightshade.
Nightshade. Okay,
allergy.
so we do have incredibly accommodating host families. So this gives you a little snapshot about how we pick the host families and how they're vetted and how we pair you and kind of some of the expectations. But before we move on to talking about language classes, go ahead, and if you have questions, go ahead about host families, go ahead and drop them in the chat box. We can take a little pause, or you can unmute yourself too if you have a question about host families.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on the chat here if any questions come through about the host families.
But the four main components that we're going to talk about host families tonight in both countries, language classes, our volunteer work, and then some of our excursions. So we just finished kind of the first component. Maria, great question. Yes, that is something that is in our pre-departure course and preparation, is a gift. As a sign of gratitude for hosting you. Is our suggestion. Absolutely. And we have suggestions about certain types of gifts as well once you register.
Yep. Great question. Okay, keep them going. If you got more questions, drop them in there and we'll get to them when we get to the end with our FAQs. So las clases de español. So these really are intensive classes with native Spanish speakers. Now, like I mentioned before, you're at your level in a small group. 2 to 6 students is the typical class size. But you are 4 hours in the afternoon in your Spanish class. So classes are held Monday to Friday. So you get 20 hours a week of really intense language classes. And what's different about language classes, when you're here in the States, for example, taking a class, you're like, oh, I got to speak Spanish in class. It's going to be so hard. But when you're on immersion, it's totally flipped. You are getting so much Spanish day in and day out, and you're trying so hard all day long to speak Spanish. You're like, oh, finally, I have a safe space for 4 hours. People are going to speak slowly to me, and I'm going to be able to understand it. I can ask my questions. Yes. And it's like, it's more of a refuge than an anxiety-producing type place, where it's interesting how the perspective shifts when you're on immersion. The focus is on oral communication, because for most of us, that's the skill that matters day in and day out. And the hardest skill to practice here in the US in a constructive, supportive environment. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what level of Spanish you're at right now. You're going to take a placement test, and we are going to make sure that you're in a class that meets your level. It's not, you've seen the class sizes, they're small, and it's not everyone together. You're with peers at your level so that you can all be in a comfortable setting learning together. Yeah, a couple different notes. 20 hours a week, that's for our teachers and medical and general adults. Families, we can work with you, because a 4-year-old, I'm sure, does not want to sit through a 4-hour class. So we have some different options for family immersion. And then as you've noticed, we have several different programs going on at the same time. So our medical Spanish students will be in classes together at different levels. With medical, our Spanish, our teachers will be with other teachers at their same level. So that is how we separate that. Ours that are learning, our participants are learning general Spanish. You'll be with other participants learning general Spanish at your same level. Yeah. So we got a couple questions come through. Is teacher Spanish in both locations? Yes. And Alyssa says, you just answered my questions about my kids, 5 and 7. Yeah. So Alyssa, some families will choose to do 2 hours a day of classes. Others will choose to do 3, and then others will choose to do 4. And there's always a break, and the kids' classes are very interactive, activity based. And so your kids aren't going to be like, strapped to a chair and writing dictations down for 4 hours. So it's, our kids have always done the 4-hour thing because it's interactive and they have fun, and it's, activity based and game based. I think that's more because we're there. They have to follow our schedule. Well, they didn't have a choice, but they haven't begrudged it. They've enjoyed it. Right. Yeah. So anyway, but Alyssa, that's something we could talk through about your kids. Yeah. So, and then in addition to the actual language classes, there are some cultural classes that we add throughout the program a couple times a week, which are things like cooking classes, dance classes. It's just usually after class ends, we'll spend, an hour learning how to prepare a typical day ashore, doing some with a dance class, a dance instructor, figuring out how to salsa, merengue, bachata. What are the other ones?
We've done, we found yoga instructors to do
That's
yoga
true.
classes in Spanish. If there's a group that wants to do yoga,
Mhm.
we've done game nights in Spanish as well, movie nights in Spanish.
Yep.
So it's just, 24/7 immersion.
That's what it is. Yeah. And Alyssa, no, not a problem. July 3rd start date, not a problem. That's a Sunday, I think. And so, yep, that's totally workable. Okay, so another important component of, if you've got questions about the classes, keep dropping them in and we'll get to them as we get to our Q&A session.
Wait, pause.
Pause.
Time
Okay,
out.
going too
Okay,
fast. Sorry.
so we've talked about, just a little recap, we've talked about the locations, we've talked about our host families, we've talked a little bit about Spanish classes, and now we're going to transition to our volunteer work, okay, which is a huge part of Spanish learning, but we also pair with organizations that have long-standing relationships in both these countries. And it's another way for us to help the underserved and also use our Spanish to do it. So
that's the goal. I mean, the goal is to support local organizations and underserved communities while you are strengthening your Spanish. And it's a nice sort of balance between the two, as a symbiosis. You wouldn't feel good about if you were doing a community service project that was only there to support your language. You're like, oh, these people are, giving their time just for me. That would feel off, right? And also, it doesn't have to be only service that you don't get anything out of it either. It's a really nice connection, the kinds of projects we put together where it really stretches your language abilities and meets a locally identified need. That's kind of the sweet spot for volunteer work. So for example, we see a handful of pictures here.
I'll take this first one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, these first two right here. The picture on the left and in the middle, top row. This is an organization called SEDCIS. It's absolutely incredible. As you can see, they started in Costa Rica in 1985. They provide health care access and educational resources for one of the largest. There's 7 shanty towns in Costa Rica. One of the largest shanty towns called Guarari. There's 80,000 people living in Guarari.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Yep. Which is the picture on the left is us one of our groups going through Guarari to see what the town, the houses, the reality of the population looks like.
For context.
Yeah, for context. So healthcare and teachers and families and adults, there are lots of opportunities working with what are some of the health topics that we talk about?
Yeah, so the health topics, we work with local parents and other community leaders on topics that they request. So the last couple of years, it's all been about COVID because we were there just before the pandemic broke out, and everyone was like, what is this COVID thing? And then as soon as we got back to traveling, then we were talking about vaccine hesitancy and all sorts of things. This past trip we were there, we had some first aid type workshops that we were doing. And, when the general adults, families, and teachers, we're always here at this time during a mid-year break in the school year. So kids are out of class and parents are looking for something meaningful, constructive for their kids to do because they're not in school for this 2-week break in July. And so teachers and parents and families put on what?
We get to work with these. There's about 60 kids in a program called Semillas de Amor, so seeds of love. And they are kids that grew up in the shantytown, probably dirt floor, not access to a lot of educational support at home. They get regular tutoring at SEDCIS, but we get to go in and do fun enrichment activities. So we've done literacy camps, we've done math bingo, we've done science explosions with them, a self-defense class with them, basic first aid where siblings are like helping their other siblings put on band-aids and stuff like that, making blankets and pillows. So lots of fun activities that they get to come and experience that many of them have never had those experiences before.
Yeah, and it's all in Spanish. It's amazing. We build in time in the program to prepare and to plan the activities and workshops, and it's amazing how it all comes together in small groups. And so we've got some local school interactions here on the right-hand side, the top two. Bottom center, this is a men's inpatient drug and alcohol rehab facility that the healthcare group spent some time in, and these guys are in the process of overcoming an addiction, and they tend to be pretty high functioning people with addictions. And so it's just a really interesting, they're always requesting topics. Sometimes it's about STIs, sometimes about other things. And so it's a very meaningful, interactive, and lively discussion with these guys. And it seems a little maybe intimidating, but it's always really rewarding to work in an audify.
They are a group of the brightest, quickest, They want to know all the information.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So, all right. So that's a glimpse of the community service work that we do. Really, at the end of the day, the projects vary, but the goals and the way that we approach them don't. The goals are always to give to the community and have an opportunity to use language responsibly, and while we're doing something for the local community.
Yeah.
So another really fun part about immersion is the weekend adventures.
Yes, you can't go to Costa Rica and Ecuador without going to the volcanoes and the
Right.
beaches and all that kind of stuff. So we, for all of our adult programs and family immersion, we offer optional weekend excursions. The weekends are yours, and there is no pressure to participate in the weekend
Nope.
excursions. Some families want to go and take off on their own, which is fantastic. Some adults form friend groups and go take off on their own.
Yep.
And we will help you. We have a list of our favorite hotspots,
Yep.
our recommended hotels and lodges and tour guides. So we will help you organize that when we're in country. And we also on the weekends have selected for the summer, for example, we're going in Ecuador, we're going to
Cotopaxi,
Cotopaxi
which is
National
that
Park.
20,000-foot mountain.
We're not summiting it because that takes a lot of training, but we're going to the mountain and then to some wonderful hot springs
Yep.
during our weekend there. In Costa Rica, we're going to the Caribbean beach this time. And then we have a beach and a volcano tour. One weekend's beach, one weekend's volcano. And then the third weekend is
Still TBD.
Oh, I was about to say, it's still TBD.
It's still TBD.
Okay, I
Yeah.
won't say it. I won't
Yeah.
say it. Okay,
But it'll be good.
But the point is that these are optional excursions put together. We take care of the transportation, the hotel, the activities, and you guys just show up if you want to go.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so and the way this usually works is we'll have Saturday morning is an early departure. So you have your regular schedule on Friday. Volunteer work, classes, things like that. And then Saturday morning, we'll head off to wherever we're going. We spend Saturday night, and we spend Sunday night, and then Monday morning we get up and we come back for our afternoon language classes. And so it's a 2-night weekend experience, and they're really fun ways to explore the country.
Yeah, a couple questions I want to answer in the
Yeah.
chat. How frequently do we get to do the service? Great question. We do 1 day of orientation to the service work and preparation, and then 2 to 3 days, mainly 2 days of actual going into the community and doing volunteer work. So 1 day of prep, usually a site visit, a meeting with the organization to learn about their mission and vision, and then 2 days of working with the community.
Yep. So, and then Chris had a question: is there an estimated additional cost for the weekend trips? Yeah, most of them are right about $350 for the weekend, which includes your transportation, your lodging, some activities, and your breakfast and that sort of thing. There are 1 or 2 that can be a little north of that if they're like really tricky to get to and transportation is really long or hard, that kind of thing. But that's kind of a rough estimate for the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Sophie's asking for the Costa Rican 2-week break. I don't have those dates on me or in my mind, Sophie. It's usually the first 2 weeks of July is historically what it is. But the idea is to be able to work with, if you're on the educator program, to be able to work with students during their break. And then when they go back to school, if you're still in country with us, we get to go into schools and come alongside a teacher, pair with the teacher and help in the classroom.
Yeah. Okay.
So
The all of that in class work with a grain of salt, because COVID has really thrown a monkey wrench to some of that. Much like, I don't know if any of your local schools have been closed to like parent volunteers and stuff like that. Ours have. We haven't
Ours
been
just
able to
opened last week.
Okay,
Our kids'
awesome.
school just opened to
Awesome.
parent volunteers last week.
But that gives you an idea. Some of the local schools are not open to receiving people, and so that's all situational and dependent on how things are going with COVID. So we, when in the past we could have promised that, it's hard to now.
Yeah.
So
But that's our goal.
that's our goal. Yep. Okay. So speaking of COVID, what are the requirements for Costa Rica and Ecuador? So Costa Rica, as of Friday, just updated that there are no special COVID entry requirements anymore. You used to have to fill out a health pass. You used to have to document, that you didn't have any symptoms, that kind of thing. But there is still mandatory masking in enclosed places and spaces in Costa Rica. Ecuador is a lot more strict. Ecuador, as of the end of March, you must complete a traveler health declaration form, and you must present the following before boarding your flight to Quito: negative RT-PCR test. So RT is just the rapid version of the PCR test within 72 hours of your flight. So proof that you're fully vaccinated within 14 days. So within might not be the right word. So fully vaccinated, and it's been more than 14 days that you're fully vaccinated. Okay?
So Costa Rica, if you're hearing this, Ecuador is requiring tourists to be vaccinated in order to enter the country.
Absolutely. There, however, is not any quarantine requirements upon entry unless you're presenting symptoms. So these are the country requirements. And we always on the day-to-day basis meet the local requirements and local guidelines. However, we have some additional requirements for you to travel with us. One, we want you to be fully vaccinated, whether you're going to Costa Rica or Ecuador. Now, Ecuador says you have to be anyway. Costa Rica doesn't, but in order to participate in our Costa Rica program, you need to be vaccinated.
And Madeline, I just saw your chat. Our vaccines are required in Costa Rica. I'm allergic. Let's set up a phone call to talk about that. We have a medical review board that we run these things through.
Yep, absolutely. So we've got a team of like 5 healthcare workers that from the start of COVID began advising us on how to deal with COVID and travel. And Madeline, your situation is perfect to take to them, to talk about it, figure out a way that you can do this safely. Okay. And proof of negative test 3 days prior to travel. Now, Ecuador is going to require that of you. Costa Rica doesn't, but we do require that of you. Why do we do it? Well, because families are opening their doors to you traveling to them, and it's a courtesy to them to say, you know what, you don't have to worry about me. I'm vaccinated. I've got a negative test. And not only that, but you're in a group of other travelers, and it's the most respectful option to make sure that, other people don't have their travel disrupted, things like that. If we just keep COVID to the minimum.
Local schools are requiring teachers to be vaccinated and people that are volunteers to be vaccinated. And any healthcare worker in Costa Rica and Ecuador is also required to be vaccinated.
Basically, we want you to have as full of experience as possible. And the only way we can do that is by making sure that we don't have any COVID interruptions. And knock on wood, gracias a Dios, over the last 2 programs in 2021 and this past winter, 0 COVID interruptions. So we know that our setup works, and we're really thankful for that and for your participation in it. So that's to get into the countries. The States has some requirements to return to the USA that you need to know about. As of January 27 of this year, you must provide a negative COVID test within 1 day of your return flight. And there were some other updates, but this is the one thing that we do have to be aware of. So we will help you coordinate your COVID testing. Antigen tests work fine. And so we'll help you get that coordinated so that you can fly home without any interruption as well. All right. Anything to add here?
Nope.
Okay. So why choose to travel with common ground?
Wait, I want to answer Gabby's question. Do the host families prefer us to wear masks while in their homes at first, or the entire time? That is a great question, Gabby. Host families, we have not had any host families yet that have required masks in home. They want you to be part of their family and to feel at home because you're living there. Mm-hmm. So it is not a requirement. There was one situation, I will say, this February where one of our participants had some symptoms like COVID, and she put on a mask while she was testing for 2 or 3 days. She was negative. She did several tests, negative, but she chose to wear a mask to protect the family just in case. So that's a situation.
Mm-hmm. And Marilyn asked, can you re-enter the US on a rapid test, or does it have to be PCR? So it does not have to be PCR. It can be the antigen test.
Yeah.
And
it's not a self-test though.
Not a self-test. There is a Binax test that comes with a service to do a self-test over video, which is what one of our physicians did this past winter.
Mm-hmm. It's an extra service.
It's an extra service that you pay via the Binax, whatever website or something. And so there is that, but there are also local labs that do it inexpensively enough that.
And you get your results within 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we'll connect you with that lab, help you make an appointment. It's really easy. And then you get your results.
Yeah.
Bada boom, bada bang.
And it tickles.
Oh.
All right. So why choose to travel with Common Ground? First of all, we're a US based business. You know who we are, you know where we live. And it's not the same to, roll the dice with some local company somewhere abroad you're just not sure about. You can't talk to, you can't dial up on the phone, you can't chat with to figure out, all the ins and outs. So we're here and happy to support you. Also, you're not alone. You're surrounded by like-minded travelers that form a cohesive group. And so a lot of folks who are solo travelers like this kind of program because they know that even though they don't know anyone very well before they arrive, that you're going to have quick friends and people to rely on and a community to travel and walk through this experience with. You will meet each other over a series of 3 online meetings that we have pre-trip in order to make sure that we're all on the same page and everyone's questions are answered and we're ready to travel together. Which is alongside this next point, we prepare you before you travel. There's no day-to-day distractions from your learning because you know what to expect, you know what it's going to be like, and you've been well prepared for the experience.
That preparation takes place 2 different forms. There are 3 Zoom meetings like this that start. The first one's April 27th. And then there's also, once you register for the program, you get access to an online course, a pre-departure course that you watch the videos. There are a series of 8 lessons that take 10 to 15 minutes each. You watch them on your own time. Some people have already completed the course. Some people are not quite there yet.
Yep.
There's extra downloads and handouts and things like that. But things that are in that course are, this might sound silly, but is it a street dog or is it someone's pet? Because dogs in Latin America are a little bit, can be a little bit shocked. Okay. How to stay safe, some safety requirements, how to pack for the trip, host family expectations, typical food, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And the program is designed like a mini study abroad, and Spanish is integrated into everything that you do. And it's not just classes or just host families and volunteering or just volunteering, etc. It's a nice combination, a really well-rounded experience that is proven to move your language forward by leaps and bounds in short periods of time. So next steps, and we need to get to next steps because it is close to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we're going to do next steps, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. And if you have to leave, we'll send out a recording of this here soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once we get it ready to go.
All right. So next steps are to first get all of your questions answered. So we'll do FAQs, and then we can email or schedule a call afterward if you have more questions. And then your next step would be to then reserve your spot with a $500 deposit, and then begin tracking flights and preparing for your trip. And so you're going to want to keep an eye on flights into Quito, flights into San Jose, Costa Rica, etc., to make sure you know when you're ready to book and that sort of thing. And we have some flights booked that we'd be glad to share with you, our itineraries if you want to fly with someone as well. Okay, we started the meeting talking about a special registration bonus. And so here's what it is. And this is if you register before April 10th. Is that right?
Our programs are filling quickly.
They are filling quickly. Yep. And so before April 10th, these bonuses are live. So in Costa Rica, this means a free coffee tour and a free chocolate tasting. These
two of my favorite things.
Yeah, these are 2 really fun, like half-day activities that are super, super tasty and interesting. In Ecuador, it's a day trip to Laguna Quicocha. And Laguna Quicocha, it's about a half hour away from Otavalo. It's this volcano, dormant volcano in a lake with water surrounding it. It's a beautiful hiking experience and really fun sort of outdoorsy day trip. So we'll take a trip to Laguna Quicocha, and that'll be included in your Ecuador registration if you sign up before April 10th. All right, awesome. So, okay, these special registrations, you should know that we do have some student rates as well. If you're a full-time student and you, such that you don't have the opportunity to work, et cetera, there's some student rates on our programs that are 3 weeks and above. And so these special registrations, those student rates are real generous. So these special bonuses don't apply to those. Okay. All right. What else should you budget for? You should budget for flights. So you're going to Quito, UIO is the airport. If you're going to San Jose, SJO is the airport code. And you're going to want to budget for lunches on a daily basis. You know, depending on how you eat, that's, $5 to $7 on average a day. You could brown bag your lunch for $2 to $3 a day. And then day tours and optional weekend excursions, taxi, bus fare, back to the airport for departure as well. So your host family is going to pick you up and get you settled into your program. But on the way back, you tend to pick up that tab yourself and get back to the airport. So, and then any COVID expenses, whether that's testing, that kind of thing. All right. We did it. Let's get into some questions.
I know. I want to make sure that we answer your questions. So Monica and Aiden are asking, would I sign up for the adult immersion or family immersion trip if I enroll my son and I together? Monica, good question.
It's a great question.
Does Aiden want...
It depends is the answer.
Yeah. Does Aiden want to do the high school program? It's another...
Is it at the same time?
It's at the high school program starts June 23rd in Costa Rica. And there's a 2-week option, a 3-week option, a 4-week option. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that we can talk about as well.
Okay.
The high school program. But do you want to do the teacher program?
I was figuring we were doing it together. So then I would just do the general program.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the short answer is, Monica, we can set it up however you'd like it. If you'd like to do some Spanish for Educator stuff, you could do that. If Aiden wants to be a part of the high school program, he could be a part of that. So there's like really 3 possibilities. One would be Aiden does the high school thing and you do one of the adult programs. Both of you do like the family program, and what would be the other one? I guess teacher. It's just 2. Yeah. Or the teacher program for you. Okay. So we could talk about that. Yeah. CEU for physical therapists, Jamie. So for physical therapists, our CME accreditation is through the American Academy of Family Physicians. And so we have not accredited the program through any PT accrediting bodies, but the CME, that category of CME tends to be really transferable amongst different providers. And so that would be something for you to check on. And let's see.
I just,
Is there a 1 week option? Judenia asked. Yes. And let's see, how long are the family programs? So Heather, the family programs range from 1 to however many weeks you would like to travel. And so that's a conversation that you and I should probably have. We should get on a phone call this week and talk through what you're looking at and what you're hoping for, and we can figure out the best fit for you and your family. Marilyn, thanks for joining. Awesome. Let's see, Chris, July 2nd for the teacher program. Would I sign up for the 3-week option? Okay. All right. So Chris, you could sign up for the 3-week option on July 2nd. And there would also be shorter options, right?
2-week
The 2-week option
yeah.
could work too.
Yeah.
Yes. So Chris, yes, 3-week option would be fine on July 2nd. And July 2nd is a Saturday. That is a weekend that we'll be traveling somewhere. If there was any way for you to swing your flight on Friday the 1st, that would allow you the opportunity to travel with the group that weekend before you begin classes on Monday.
And flights on Thursdays and Fridays tend to be a little bit cheaper than a Saturday or Sunday flight.
So it's something to look at anyway. And there's flexibility on our side to allow for that. All right. What other questions are coming through?
How long did you answer that? How long are
Yep.
the family programs?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Madeline has a question.
Okay.
Most of my students are Mexican. Is the Spanish significantly different in Costa Rica and Ecuador? Let's see, Vanessa, our resident Mexican Spanish expert, tell us all about it.
No, it's very, very similar. They only have like a few words that maybe are different from us, but it's practically the same. Also, the only thing I can think about is they talk a lot in usted form, and here in Mexico we use the tú form when you are with people like with friends or younger people. Only we use usted for older people or people we like to show respect, and in Costa Rica they use it for everyone. That's the only difference. Everything else, it's practically the same.
Yep, absolutely. That's one of the main linguistic differences between Costa Rica and Mexico, is that Costa Rica, almost like Vanessa was saying, exclusively uses the usted form for you, whereas in Mexico, the tú form is more predominant, I would say, in everyday communication.
Some people have to go. Marilyn, Alisa, muchísimas gracias. We'll be in touch. You have our emails.
Yep.
And then I want to make sure that we answer Alyssa. I'd also like to talk about the family program with you, looking at a 1-week option in Costa Rica.
Yes, let's set up a call. Send me an email. Tomorrow I'll send out a little recap email from this meeting. And so you should receive that. And I'll be glad to get on the phone with you and talk through your family needs. And was there a question about pricing? Let's drop the.
Oh, I had him copy. Let me copy and paste the pricing. For all the programs, I'm going to put in the chat box here.
All right, so find the chat box there if you want to look at pricing, and you can see the rates for all of those different programs. Okay.
Monica and Aiden, please give Lou un abrazo from us, and tell the rest of the family. Yeah, muchísimas gracias.
Adios, muchas gracias.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
All right, what other questions coming through here?
Feel free to unmute yourselves too. We're a smaller group now.
I have a question. So I'm a PT. I want to go on the medical immersion, and my 2 adult sons would be, they're adults, official adults.
Yeah.
They pay themselves. So they would be general adult. So is that family? Is that 3 separate?
I would do 3
identities, or
they're paying for themselves.
It's 3 separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 separate.
Because I'm the family program is like for mainly younger kid under 18, that they all want to stay in the same host family together. That's a possibility for you guys, but I imagine that you might want to stay in different families.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking the 2 boys go off and then I do something else. So that was when you say family, what does that mean? But you mean little kids?
Typically means, parents with little kids. And oftentimes it's mom's traveling, dad stayed home, and, they need a lot of support, that kind of thing. But you with your adult sons, they just register for the adult program.
Okay. And then the volunteer things would be different too, because I'd be medical. Is that true? Or,
So oftentimes we're in the same community, but just working with different people. And so, we're consolidated as far as getting to and from. And so you'll be around the boys plenty.
Okay. And as a PT, I mean, I'm not an RN or an MD. I mean, is there something of benefit I could bring, or?
As far as that'd be a conversation that we'd want to have, and after we get our project set.
Okay.
What are some of the needs that possibly PT can help fill?
Okay. Thank you. Great.
Absolutely.
But mobility, because we work with this group of adulto mayores, so
For
like
sure. Elderly.
elderly,
Oh.
and mobility is a huge issue that we often get asked to, add home exercises to strengthen and
Strengthening, yeah, for
balance
sure.
and stretching and all that kind
There's
of stuff.
definitely
So-
opportunity. We just have to define, what the project is, and then we can
Okay.
figure out how to maximize your expertise within it. Yeah.
So
Excellent.
Maria,
Thank you.
you're welcome, Jamie. Maria is asking, can we bring things for the kids at the schools, pencils? Yes. So we do physical donations as well. And we get a list from these organizations saying, what do the kids need? It's not required at all, but
Mhm.
oftentimes we have participants like yourself, especially the timing works out because as we are ending the school year here in the US, we have extra pencils and markers and school book, notebooks and stuff. So we can bring that stuff down there and donate it to
Yeah.
the kids and
Yeah.
organizations. Absolutely.
All right. Keep the questions coming. These are great. Con gusto.
Con gusto. All right. Any other questions? If you want to register, I'm going to put that link in the chat box as well.
Yeah, so you can find your program at this link. Leslie's going to drop in there. If you know you're ready to get signed up with your deposit, that's the link. You'll head right there and you'll just choose the program that you're interested in and then pick the deposit option. Yep, absolutely. And then we'll get you locked in for one of those, the day trip or the coffee and chocolate tastings. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Those that are still on, how many of you are thinking Ecuador? How many of you are thinking Costa Rica? Go ahead and let us know in the chat box.
Oh yeah, drop in the chat box the country name, Ecuador or Costa Rica. Or
I
combo.
had a question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go for it,
Sophie.
Sophie.
My computer's gonna die, so I'm not ignoring you or leaving you if it dies in between my questions.
Okay.
But I registered today, and there wasn't a section for you guys to take my money. It just said you're ready. So what should I do about that?
I saw that come through and it said 0.
Oh, I did too. I said it
Yeah.
too. I said, do you know this person?
Yes, because we've been communicating with Sophie. We've been communicating with her. But we noticed things about our website today. So actually our
We did have
website
an issue,
developer
yeah.
is looking at that because there
Okay.
have been some issues on some other pages. So thank you, Sophie, for bringing that up. We need to get back to you about that. We need to figure out what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Mañana.
just want to make sure everything is squared away.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Mañana, Sophie, I'll probably get it sorted out and see if we can figure it out tomorrow. Okay. Great.
Okay. So Maria is thinking Costa Rica. Madeleine is thinking probably
Wants to do both. Yeah. Okay. All right. There's always next time.
Ecuador. Yeah.
Ecuador,
Well,
what's
some
on?
did Costa Rica in February. Now she wants to do Ecuador. So that's how you could do both.
And Costa Rica in 2019.
Yeah. Maybe just
All right,
Costa
maybe
Rica.
it's Costa Rica. You can't go wrong with either, honestly. They're both wonderful places and super fun in their own ways and unique and really meaningful opportunities. Yeah, in both places. So you can't go wrong either way you go.
All right.
I think the kids are home from soccer game,
and homemade macaroni and cheese that you made is ready.
probably burning.
But I'm thankful that you made it. Thank you.
It might be crispy up top.
That's okay. All right, Jamie, I just saw your note. We're going to leave too. We're going to feed the kids
Yeah.
and get going on homework and everything. But muchísimas gracias. Thanks
Yeah.
for taking your time this evening, and we'll be in touch. We'll send
Yeah.
out a recording and answer some more of your questions. So gracias a todos.
Buenas
Hasta luego.
noches. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.